Following the unfortunate events at their home, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world. Forced to venture into the unknown, they realise the creatures that hunt by sound are not only the threats lurking beyond the sand path. Quiet Place Part 2 is a horror, drama and sci-fi thriller written and directed by John Krasinski, based on characters by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. Starring Millicent Simmonds as Reagan, Jonah Jupe as Marcus Abbott, Cillian Murphy as Emmett and Emily Blunt as Evelyn. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am very, very excited to talk about A Quiet Place Part 2. If you're new here, please turn on your bell notifications, subscribe to the channel, and for the near future I'll be bringing some more A Quiet Place content. More about that as the video progresses and goes along. So, what were my thoughts of A Quiet Place Part 2? Now, ladies and gentlemen, this was like the first time going back to a cinema and watching a film specifically in the IMAX format. I had not done that since Tenet, which was last year in 2020. So it's nearly been about, close to a year without my Baby Cakes IMAX. And it goes without saying that A Quiet Place Part 2 really is a perfect sequel. It's a sequel that you can put up there with the likes of Aliens, Terminator Judgment Day, The Dark Knight, The Winter Soldier. It's a phenomenal sequel. And not only is it a phenomenal sequel, I would say it's one of the, I could say right now in confidence, it's one of the best films of the year so far. I think what makes A Quiet Place such a intriguing universe slash franchise of films is that it's a direct continuation, and it builds upon its concept. And it establishes with its own concept that sound is the enemy. If you're sound by the death angels, you are, they will cut through you like a knife through butter. And before watching Part 2, I went back and I watched the first film, Quiet Place. And there are some brilliant resemblances between those two films, where you have the first film, which opens in complete silence, and then you have the second film open in complete noise. So with people understanding the established concept from the first film, which we know it will be an established concept within this film, John Krasinski said in an article or in an interview that he wanted to open the film and terrorize the audience with sound. And you're hearing all types of rustlings of bags, all types of people talking, and it's agitating because they have absolutely no idea what what they've now become a part of. And I think that's great continuity, that's great hidden subtext exposition to the last film. And it just goes to show how unique the entire experience is with the A Quiet Place films. And as I was watching the first Quiet Place, the very first thing that I said, because my parents, they had actually watched the second film, and then they came back to then watch the first one with me, because they wanted to they had watched the first one, but again, they wanted to get more of the folklore, get a whole gist of the entire story. And the very first thing I said, like, turned to my mum, and what I said to her was, dogs, animals, they would be all of the first things to go completely. And below and behold, we got Krasinski showing us shots of animals, of dogs barking, and you're just thinking, man, they're goners. In this universe, And within the opening, we get more information about how did the Death Angels arrive here on Earth. And it's alluding to the idea that they came from outer space, with the massive meteorite that they see hurling towards Earth. And within the opening, we get to see Krasinski starting to lay the foundations and these breadcrumbs of a character arc and some great hidden subtext exposition with the characters of with Marcus and Reagan, and he's cleverly showing how this is now going to be a film about them coming of age, and how different this film is going to be compared to the first installment within these universe of films. And what I find so great with Krasinski's direction and his writing is that what he's showing to his audience, that within this opening, this first person ideology that's flooring all of these characters, is that, especially with Reagan, she believes, the way I look at it is that she believes that in this moment that she is the most flawed character because of her hearing, her being deaf. And you can see this air of cluelessness with her. But what's also brilliant is the fact is that she doesn't understand that she is the key to defeating this whole apocalypse. And on the flip side, you see how scared Marcus is. And I think it's quite a sad element with this character, because he's never been a boy that's really come out of his shell, and you really see how shy he is with these little intricate moments between his family and the sport that he's playing, that he doesn't feel this urge that he's worthy enough to do good things. And you see how you see how scared he is and shy. But by the time you get to the end of this film, you're like, man, I just absolutely love what Krasinski done with Reagan and Marcus. And I got to tip my hat to him, because those final emotional beats of the film, boy, they couldn't have hit harder. They couldn't have hit home harder. Now, with Evelyn's presence in this film, she's not really at the forefront, because again, I feel like this is more of a story about with Marcus and Reagan, and within that they have their rift, they have their quarrel where they don't see eye to eye. And really, I find that they're the main heart of the story. But within this, Evelyn, she has to get over, she's going through a significant change within her life. She's just, her husband is now gone, and she now has to leave a comfort zone, which was her house, and then go out into the real world. And she has to look after a newborn baby. She has to look after the kids, and also now leaving the home, dealing with the loss. You can see all this weight just piling onto her. And I liked how they showed how she wasn't at the forefront, but it made sense why she wouldn't be, because she's dealing with an emotional fresh wound. No, she's not going to be Superwoman all of a sudden. And I think that was really honest of Krasinski to show that development with that character. And with Krasinski's work, what I like about him is his attention to detail. Now, there are these, when the characters step off the sand path, we see that there's this nice close-up of their feet, and it's then gonna go onto the grass. And we know what that means. Any sound that is too loud, the Death Angel will be up in your grill and spinning chins. That's how it goes in this universe. And it was just the camera that was there, and then you see Evelyn put her foot down onto the grass, not a sound, right? And then I can't remember who was second, but I think it could have been, I can't remember, whether it was Marcus or Reagan. They put their foot down, and you just hear this crunch, and it's like, oh my God, like, you know, is a Death Angel running like Usain Bolt now, like to where they are? The movie emotionally plays with all of your emotions, and then the third person to step on the grass is just as light as Evelyn, and you're like, man, like this is stress inducing, and I was not expecting that to happen to Marcus so early into the film. He started with his outburst, and then another little person started with their outburst, and you're thinking, oh shit, here we go. Cillian Murphy was a interesting addition to have to the universe of films with Quiet Place. And what's so intriguing about him is that he is like the complete opposite of what the Abbott family are. He doesn't want anything to do with anyone. Yeah, tough love. You can like it or you can lump it with the character arc with him, and he's this person that has just kind of like lost all hope with humanity. And another thing that I didn't really think about until I started writing up the review for this film was that his character's actually the same as Evelyn. In terms of what they've both been experiencing of losing a loved one, you have someone who still has faith. And then you have the other character with Emmett who he's thinking, why would I care about anyone else after what's happened to me, kind of thing. No one gave me an olive branch when things were going to shit with my family. And I just think it was a interesting paradigm between Evelyn and Emmett, those two characters. And Emmett's character arc is asking the question of what is it that he wants, but what is it that he really needs? And you see that journey with him. Going into the second act, my friend turned to me and said, Ellie and Joel, Reagan and Emmett, they really did resemble that relationship from The Last of Us. Ellie and Joel kicking ass together. Now, there were some very interesting aspects with Quiet Place Part 2. We got hints of John Krasinski showing us that, hinting at, are the Death Angels, are they evolving? Now, I can't go into too much detail about that because I think I'm going to have to make a separate video for that, because there's some very interesting things that he's alluding to. And possibly other dimensions. That's going to be another video for another time, because boy, who knows? Let's talk about Digimon Hansu, who's in this film. And in this film, I think he's credited as Man on Island. And we see him in the second act into the third. And I just want to say that, I've been watching the interviews with Digimon and him talking with other people about the franchise and just how excited he is about people to see the film and so on and so forth. And I'm just going to say that he himself sold the film perfectly from his point of view. And So I got to tip my hat to him, and he doesn't. Uh, you got to respect that, and I think because here's the thing: most actors wouldn't take a role like that, specifically with what happens to that character. Um, but I think with how Digimon loves these, these collective films, I think he looked at the script and thought to himself, why wouldn't I not do this? It's a quiet place. Why not? So, you know what, man? I love you for that, man. Yeah, that was great. And the way you expressed yourself about the film, good job, bro. Now, as one of the discrepancies, not that I've had, but what I've seen with online is that people have been saying that a lot of this film was is based off false marketing, because with a conversation with what Emmett has with Evelyn, he basically tells her that these people are not who you think they are. So it gives you this illusion that that there's some kind of maybe another monster going on here, so on and so forth. I cannot confirm or deny because it's not really a spoiler based video, but I can see why people could feel that way. But here's the thing: there are conversations within this universe about virus, and even within the second film, I was kind of thinking, is it going to be like some kind of, are they going to reinvent the genre in the sense of, well, reinvent the film in the sense of creating a hybrid of a half human, half Death Angel thing, maybe, potentially. Because with the trailers, you get the feeling that could be the case. But that is the case with what's going on, because I feel like there is something that has gone completely over people's heads with what is actually happening with the Death Angels. And Act 2 going into Act 3, some absolutely amazing direction from John Krasinski, some great action set pieces, and Emmett just unlocks the inner Joel within himself and just starts, uses his wits, some great continuity, hidden exposition as to a conversation that Emmett has with Reagan in the beginning of the film, and it plays out on the dock, and you're like, you see. So these characters are making good decisions, and we like good decisions, especially when it comes to our protagonists. And amidst all of the action, which I can definitely say, it feels like a Quiet Place Part 2 is definitely more action based than the first film. And it plays again more on the sense of, we learn more about the Death Angels in the sense of what is their weakness, and then we see the Abbott family using that to their advantage as much as they can. And the non-linear structure of Marcus and Reagan finally being able to hold their own, that was poetic. That right there was straight out of the booklet of Christopher Nolan. That reminded me, frame by frame, using non-linear structure to create suspense, similar to what Nolan done with the two boat sequences. The criminals on one boat and the pedestrian civilians in another, and what are the decisions that both of these sets of ensemble characters making. And it gave me that same feeling watching the ending of A Quiet Place. Now, because that ending is so cathartic to me, and because the movie is showing that this is a movie that is about Marcus and Reagan, being their own and being to now survive properly within this environment. I didn't need to have the other external threat of, is there a new hybrid? Is there something bigger and badder out there in this universe? Because I feel like these two films are very cleverly establishing a trilogy. Now, the thing is, it's all well and good having these two great films, and I feel like now the ball really is in the court of the third film. It has to bring it home. And one of my only complaints that I could say with Quiet Place Part 2 is that I wanted more. Not that I disliked anything, I just wanted more. And I feel like going into a third film with these characters, I could, myself and a lot of other people could feel like they could definitely go with a 2.5 hour film. I mean, who doesn't want to be immersed in that atmosphere for 2.5 hours in a cinema? I mean, it's a no-brainer to me, and I really do hope that that is the case. Because the more that I thought about A Quiet Place and its movies, I thought to myself, this would be, man, like, watching the first and second film back to back would be a great experience, because it would just feel like one movie, you know? I really, do you know what? It'll be interesting to see, I would love if they released a supercut, A Quiet Place. Name it something kind of, I don't know. I don't know, a supercut, both films back to back, just both interconnecting one into the other. And, I'd love to feel that. I mean, of course, you can just have both films and play them, but, just to have that connection just straight away into the next one. No credits, none of that, just straight into the next one. I think that'd be really intriguing. And a couple of final points to this review. I found the cinematography great. Found the product design, it really encapsulates you in this world, this apocalyptic, just, isolated world. And the soundtrack is also really good. And one thing that I find really eerie is that these Quiet Place films are set within 2020. Now, that was some vital information that I found out in the first film, that these films are set in 2020, and that's a mad coincidence, isn't it? I mean, with what we've all been going through for the last 16 to 18 months. Mad, innit? So, with all that being said, it's a great sequel. I mean, look, nothing's gonna really beat that first time experience with the first film. I feel like the first film is the story about parents, and how they're going to protect their family. And this is more so about the siblings and how they're going to come into their own and be able to protect themselves and others. So it's a question of, do you want more like suspense from the first film, or do you want more action from the second? It really is a pick 'em, and I feel like they both coincide with each other brilliantly. So with that being said, I'll be giving A Quiet Place Part 2 a 9 out of 10. And I think just because of how brilliantly Krasinski done the character arcs of these characters, with Reagan and Marcus, I have no other option but to add it into the Champions Academy. So, Quiet Place, you need to watch it. If you have, please let me know your comments down below. Click here if you want to see more. Make sure you're subscribed, turn your bell notifications, check the description for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.